And if you would please, let's stand and we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Colonel, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, folks, our first item this evening is the agenda approval, and we've got a couple of minor adjustments that we need to make to the agenda. Under the consent agenda, we're going to take item F and move it down to the county manager's report. That will become item 9E. And then everything underneath that will move up. So we will have the engineering services agreement. We'll move up to F. Approval of the minutes will move up to G, and then we will also add to the consent agenda the via opioid money resolution. Is that correct?
Did you say G or E? Moving it to G?
I'm sorry, moving what to G? We're going to move,
Needs to be G.
yeah, we're just going to bump everything up.
I mean, when you're moving it down to Ross, you're gonna put it in G instead of E. You said E.
Right, we're moving 2F down to 9E. We'll make it 9E.
All right, what are you gonna do with it?
I'm sorry, do we have a, oh, I apologize. I'm looking off I'm on the draft. My mistake. All right, so we're going to move, we'll move 2F to
G.
9G, correct.
Mr. Chairman, can we move 2F and 2G both?
Yes, sir.
They both go together.
They do. That's a good point. So we'll move, yes. We'll move F and G out of the consent agenda and move it down to the county manager's slot, which will be 9G and H. All right. Is there any other changes we need to make to the agenda this evening? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion?
Just a point of note, Mr. Chair, if we could, on the consent agenda, we'd like to at least recognize the work the tax office has been doing with Kenya Law Firm. In 2022, the tax office was able, through litigation, to receive tax payments that were outstanding on 116 parcels of property with a total revenue collected of $427,000. So very good job, and they're moving quite well with it this year again. And these are properties that county aren't having to seize, but through this process, the tax office has been able to collect on delinquent taxes in the sum of over $500,000. So excellent work on the tax office's part.
Very
Thank
much
you, Mr.
so.
Chair.
No worries. Thank you for sharing that. So we've got a motion on the floor and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda? It's unanimous. Up next is our public comment. This is 3 minutes for each speaker. Tonight we've got one speaker signed up, and that would be Mr. Tony Ponder. Please step up, Mr. Ponder.
Chairman Wechtel, Commissioners. I'm here to finish my remarks about the Hot Springs appointment to the Planning Board. I was within 15 seconds of completing my remarks, but your new policy limited my free speech, so I'm here tonight to continue. As you recall, according to the local paper, one of you was quoted as saying that nobody from Hot Springs applied for the Planning Board position. This Save Madison County.org blogger applicant had 26 years of land use planning experience. Of course, in her blog, she has called this board a Rhino Express. That's Republican in name only. Before I finish those remarks from last month about her application, there's some items I'd like to mention. By the way, I thought this blogger from Madison County .org, SaveMadisonCounty.org, had an excellent article on her blog yesterday. Rod Honeycutt, you're no longer acting county manager. You are the county manager, and congratulations. You don't have to act any longer. You are the manager, and we're proud of you for that, Rod. There was an extended effort on the part of county personnel and others to find the late Philip Shelton in the French Broad River. I want to commend you, County Manager Honeycutt, for your tireless efforts in organizing and directing the search. You were there, and it showed that you care for the family, and you made our county proud. I'm sure that I can speak on behalf of all county residents and commend you with our appreciation. Thank you for helping this family in their time of need. Also, Chairman Wechtel, you were down here at this facility assisting the Shelton family in their time of need. I know that they, as well as the county residents, appreciate your efforts. I'm sure that I can speak for everyone and say thank you. Let me not forget the Walnut Fire and Rescue folks and all the others, and especially all the other search and rescue folks. Theirs must have been an exhaustive effort in unsafe conditions. All of the man hours that put in and all that hard work. Again, we're proud of what our first responders do. Thanks to all of you. I want to commend you, commissioners, for having your attendance to check solid waste permits.
Tony, time's up. Thank you. Thank you for your comments, sir.
Thank you.
All right, that is our only individual signed up for public comment this evening, so we will continue on with our agenda. Up next, Developmental Services Director Brad Guth. Brad?
Thank you, Chairman Wechtel and Board of Commission members. First item that I have on the agenda is the proposed draft amendments to the Madison County Land Use Ordinance. These are the land use aspects that the moratorium work group has been working on for the past 6 or 8 months. And we'll have a public hearing at the next Board of Commissioners meeting that will invite public comment for this, but this is just an opportunity for you to see the work of the committee, the work group. The work group was myself, Commissioner Garrison, Commissioner Goforth, Madam Clerk, Mandy Bradley, and our attorney, John Knorr, and then for a couple months, our former zoning administrator, Terry Dolan. So we have been banging this out, and you have a copy, I believe, in your packet. I don't know if you would like me to go through this item by item, or if you've had an opportunity to review these or provide some direction to me as to how you envision this going. I did go through them at the planning board meeting, item by item. That takes a little bit of time to do that. Or we could just, if you've had an opportunity to review them, I could answer any specific questions that you might have, or we could review them at the next meeting when we have the public hearing. So you tell me how you would like me to handle it.
I think it'd be good for the benefit of the public as well as the commissioners to have you address anything that is changed from what the original document was. So.
Okay, well, I'll start with the first item there then in terms of the additions to section 2.1. Our land use ordinance has a section of definitions that defines any items that we would be reviewing. And sometimes definitions come up that aren't in that. But there is a dictionary that all planners use that's published by the American Planning Association that has just every definition under the sun and what their context is in the planning sense. And so this first item allows us to say, well, it may not be in the definition list that's in chapter 2 on in our land use ordinance, but it is in the planner's dictionary, and that's what it means. The second change, of course, is the major change, which is the assembly hall is going to be struck from the land use ordinance. That's the classification that all of these wedding venues and event facilities now are classified under, which is a permitted use in the specifically the RA land use district. So we're taking that out of the ordinance and are going to replace it with a special event facility definition. And you see there that John Knorr, our attorney, added facility as a definition, and that is a structure or place which is built, installed, or established to serve a particular purpose. And at the planning board meeting, one of the specific comments about that John made was that not only is it a building, but it could be a place. So if you have a field that you have developed to act as a festival's grounds or something like that, that would also fall under facilities, not just what you envision of a building as a structure and as a place, but a open field that's developed as that could be considered a special event facility as well. And then the next change is that the special event facility definition will be included, and it's a facility used to accommodate functions including but not limited to banquets, weddings, celebrations, dinners, festivals, concerts, and other group events. Church and religious institutions are not included in this definition. And then when you review special uses, there are special requirements. In your memo, there's actually 3 standards that are pretty much ubiquitous throughout planning in North Carolina when you have a special use. And those are the A, B, and C there. So the board has to find that the use does not adversely affect the health, safety of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use. They have to determine that it won't be detrimental to public welfare, and it won't be injurious to property or public improvements in the neighborhood. So those are basically the overarching standards that you have to abide by. And then each individual use could have specific special requirements that you have to abide by. And that's what these next items are in this list. And essentially, just to give you the highlights of those, one of the things that we made sure to do in terms of the application is that a person has to provide a site plan for when they're developing a special event facility. And in that site plan, you have to have elevation drawings. And elevation drawings basically show us what the building looks like. So a lot of times in the past, we've had just a flat set of plans and we don't know what the actual facility would look like. So this gives us the ability to actually see what the building will look like when it's finished. And that's the 8.10.3.3. There's a lot of additional landscaping buffers, separations between uses, the building size. We did limit the size to 7,500 feet, so the building can't be any larger than that. Noise level, of course, we had another aspect of this moratorium work group that was dealing with the noise ordinance. So this references that they shall adhere to the Madison County noise ordinance, which will also be addressed at the next Board of Commissioners meeting. You have a requirement for parking that basically has to meet the standards that are already in our ordinance for parking. And one of the biggest changes is probably the 8.10.11 in terms of how we're bringing the existing special event facilities online. They're going to have to go through what's called an amortization process, where they're going to basically have a year to apply for a special use for their business. The alternative to that is to turn them into non-conforming uses, which means that they're here already and they can do what they're doing now, but they can't change. So if they went out of business, another use couldn't come in to that use and continue that operation. But we've added that they have to come into compliance, meaning that they'll have to apply for a special use permit for their existing facility within a year, or else they'll have to stop operating.
Is that just a question?
Yes, sir.
It is, because I'm sure Mr. Norwood, I mean, is that legal?
It's absolutely legal. There's a lot of places that do that. It is a very aggressive way to handle existing businesses. I don't know that Madison County has ever done that before, but it is perfectly legal. And in fact, John reviewed these and added some additional language in terms of violations so that we would be by the book. So
what you're saying is if somebody's operating a wedding venue now and they're operating out of a 8,000 square foot building, they're gonna have to tear 500 square foot off.
Or they would have to apply for a variance saying that they're have extreme circumstances because of the new regulations that we have in place, and then allow them to continue to operate. And that would basically be for any of these standards. Because there may be some situations that comes up.
So there's no like grandfathering them in.
No, that's the other alternative in terms of how you handle existing uses, is you would turn them into non-conforming uses, which is essentially what you're saying is grandfathering them in, and they just let them operate as they're operating now.
Which board would they come before to do that? If
For
what you just said, grandfather them in, would they have to come before us?
You don't have to do anything.
no, you don't have to do anything if
This doesn't apply to them.
it would just
If you go that
wouldn't
route,
apply.
This applies to them. They keep doing
It would just be for the next people that come in, they would have to follow this special
The
use.
non-conforming use would go before the Board of Adjustments, correct? Or no?
No. They would just automatically become non-conforming uses.
I got you. Okay.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Wyatt?
And then just to be clear that they still have to abide by the noise ordinance
Correct.
before the year's
Correct. That's
over. I
something
mean,
totally separately, immediately. We're requiring that they have a local contact person. that we have their email and phone number and for any emergencies that they would have. And then regarding the violations, this language is mostly all Mr. Nor's. So I'll just go through that line by line. So a violation of the special use permit, except as specifically provided herein, if at any time after the special use permit has been issued for a special event facility and is determined that the conditions imposed in the agreements made in the special use permit have not been or are not being fulfilled, or there have been in violation of section 8.5, the special use permit shall immediately terminate and the operation of such use discontinued upon issuance of a notice of violation. And that notice of violation would come from the zoning administrator. The sheriff's department would be the one that was called to the initial situation if they did violate. Excuse me, that's for the noise ordinance. I apologize.
Brad, you said 8.5, but I think you just misspoke. Said
8.10. Yes. Thank
Just
you.
making sure.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.
So a violation of any portion of a special event facility, special use permit, or section 8.10 shall result in the issuance of a notice of violation. Notices of violation may be appealed to the Board of Adjustment consistent with the procedures provided in this ordinance. If a special use permit is terminated due to the issuance of a notice of violation, it may be reinstated only after a public hearing is held before the Board of Adjustment and that notice is either reversed, or in the event the notice is either affirmed or not appealed. A new special use permit is applied for and approved by the Board of Adjustment. If a special event facility is cited for violating the Madison County noise ordinance more than once within a 6-month period, their special use permit shall be terminated and the use shall be discontinued.
Any other questions for Brad? Comments?
And just so you will be aware, I'm sorry.
That's right.
I was just going to say, just so you will be aware, the planning board did review this at their continued February meeting, which was the first week in March, and they postponed a decision on it until their meeting on the 21st, which would actually give them the opportunity to recommend it to you before your next Board of Commissioners meeting.
So their next meeting is the 21st of March.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there anybody, this committee that put this together? I know Mr. Dolan left. Has there been anybody from the planning board on that committee? Has Mr. Silver been involved? Or?
No. They were all given the opportunity to participate, but they weren't left out.
Vice Chair Garrison, you had a question or comment?
Brad, just as a point of few notes, one is the objective here was to be able to, for existing businesses to continue to operate. And at the same time become in compliance with standards that would be applicable to all special event venues, not just those that got here first or those that got here last. Also, one of the things that's pivotal is that noise seems to be one of the driving factors for some of the complaints. And without this ordinance being applicable to existing event venues, then they just simply, whatever we charge for a noise ordinance violation, they just simply add that to the cost of doing business and then pass it on to the consumer. So if we charge $1,000, they just charge $1,000 extra to cover the cost of paying the noise ordinance violation. So this at least puts a little bit more teeth into special event venues to ensure that they're being in compliance. At the same time, it does allow for some redress should they not be able to fall into it. We looked at several venues and used them as examples things like square footage, like their ability to comply with buffers, the ability to have sufficient parking, because noise wasn't the only issue we had complaints on. And so we looked at some of the others, and ultimately, at the end of the day, we tried to go by the definitions and a format that's consistent and accepted commonly in reference to state and federal or national standards. So that's the reason you see some of the definitions the way they are. And to be honest, having the county's land use ordinance already in place was hugely beneficial, because a lot of it refers back to things that were placed previously. So this is just one little tidbit that's added into that. And we had to go back and make sure that there was nothing that was contradictory in this ordinance revision with previous ordinance that are going to stand as such. The second part of that is a part of that, at any point that someone cannot, and that's imperative, you understand it, everybody have a knowledge that if someone can't come into compliance, for instance, they don't have enough parking spaces to meet the standards, then there's always a variance they can request through the county to seek a variance from the county in order to continue to operate. We also allowed for a year for the amortization to take place, which means they've got plenty of time to come into compliance. During that time, all the other ordinances apply, the noise ordinance and any other ordinances, but those that are going to be coming have to come into compliance with the special event venue will have sufficient time to get through the summer months when they're extremely busy and make whatever modifications are necessary. So I'd also like to note that this is open for public comment. We'd love to have it in advance. So if someone has a comment or a question they'd like to forward to the developmental services or to the county manager, then we'd love to have those in advance. We've already received some feedback from folks. Folks asked questions that we'd actually already answered, but we'd like to have all that in advance so that when we come up to the April deadline, the finished product is complete. We don't have to go back and start trying to hack stuff up. Brad, just a couple of things to note. Under the section for special event facilities description, there's a misspell under institution, so we need to make a correction on that. I know there's also already a correction that was mentioned by one of the board members.
Yeah, I think that was under the,
This typos is,
the local contact person. There's a 2 and a TH that'll just be stricken from it.
right. So we just need to get the institution, it's in, just got a little something
I see
missing
that.
in it. So if we could check that. Also, there was discussion about time restrictions on amplified sound. That was applicable to this, not to the noise ordinance. So I think that may be something that we need to clarify. Time restriction on amplified sound, meaning 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, they're required to shut off. That can be applicable to the noise ordinance, but really I think it was intended to be in this particular ordinance, not the noise ordinance. Also, I think we received a comment from someone in the community, and we'll probably need to address that in some fashion, at least to them, as far as do they have to reapply for the permit, and does that reapplication, if they're already in compliance, do they still have to reapply? And if so, what's that entail? Is it still the same process? So we probably just need to clarify that a little bit to make sure we're in.
Can I jump in on that? Because I had that same question presented to me. So if they're an existing facility and they can prove to, I guess you or the board that they already are in compliance with the 14 requirements set out in 8.10, do they have to, or do they automatically get reapproved, or do they still have to go through the complete process?
My understanding is that they would have to apply for a special use permit to go through the process.
Okay.
Donnie, do you have any thoughts on? Okay.
This is John Norris' gig, right, Don?
One other thing was, I know there was some discussion about community centers. Are they going to be required to be permitted for special events under the church and religious institution exemptions? So that's probably something we need to go back and, we've discussed it, so it's something we need to go back and look at. And I will say, this working group has met a lot, and they've sought a lot of advice from other people, a lot of reviewing of other cities and counties, trying to get information for this and the noise ordinance as well. The finished product, it may still need some tweaking, but overall, I think it's a very good product. It balances the rights of property owners to use their property, at the same time, the rights of people living in rural communities to be able to live in peace. So, and one of the things I shared with Chairman Weckel, it's always important to know, we're going to request that a 6-month revisit, which means after 6 months, we'll be requesting the county to go back and review how this ordinance has been applicable, how well it's worked, what needs to be changed on it. Nothing's etched in stone, so there may be things we need to change as well. Did I say something funny? Everybody's smiling.
No, I don't think so.
Go ahead.
No. The other question I've gotten, Brad, was in pertaining to fireworks. And again, I think this needs to go back to, correct me if I'm wrong, this goes back to the official title, which would be, I'm getting to it, special event facility. That is not going to affect, for example, when the rodeo does their fireworks celebration for July 4th or otherwise, or any of the towns when they have their July 4th.
Does not affect those at all. We had that same question at the planning board.
Very good. Just wanted to make
Yes,
sure
sir.
and kind of say it for everybody to hear.
Everybody to hear.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Thank you, sir. Anybody else have any additional questions?
Brad, where's this going to be located and when for citizen review?
So, I imagine I'll have it in my office.
Are we going to post it or anything?
We can do whatever pleases the board.
I would suggest put it on the county website. Jamie, we can do that, can we?
Tell me again when the next plan.
The 21st, Tuesday the 21st,
And where will that be?
at the library.
At the library, Marshall Library?
Yes.
Everybody has to use their library voices if you're coming to complain or add any comments. All right. Last call. Any other questions for Brad in regards to the land use ordinance changes? Were there any other changes we need to address, Brad, to get everything?
I think that covered it.
Okay. All right. Well, hearing no other questions or comments from the board, we'll move on to item 4B, which is the Industrial Park Golden Leaf Site Program Grant Certification and Engineering Resolution.
It's a
It's a
mouthful. The as you all know, when we met with the joint meeting with the Economic Development Board, we are applying for a grant from the Golden Leaf Foundation to do the due diligence for the industrial park. And in your packet, there was a list of the due diligence checklist. I'll just go through the things that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a phase 1 environmental assessment. We're going to be doing a detailed wetland and stream delineation. We're going to be doing a threatened and endangered species report. We're going to be doing a archaeological and cultural resources review, and then a detailed archaeological study. We're going to be doing a boundary survey, a geotechnical report, existing utilities capacity analysis, water system flow analysis, a title opinion, and then existing utilities mapping. So, and we have asked Modulus, who has engineering, who has done the concept plan for us for the industrial park, to spearhead the effort to get these various due diligence items completed. And Eric has given us a cost of $24,550 to do those. And the site program with Golden Leaf has a cap of up to $50,000 for this due diligence phase, and we're in the process of applying for that. There is a letter on your dais talking about the support for the grant. And it says the Madison County Board of Commissioners strongly support the Golden Leaf Site Program due diligence grant application for $24,550 prepared by our Development Services Department to improve the Madison County Industrial Park. The grant will permit the county to conduct critically necessary technical, financial, legal, environmental, and stakeholder due diligence to assess the project's feasibilities, risks, and potential impacts on the local community. The site program will permit Madison County to continue its efforts to develop the Madison County Industrial Park and have sites available for development to attract new businesses and create opportunities for existing businesses to expand. Overall, the project will be a catalyst for job creation and economic investment, increasing economic opportunity in Madison County. And to go along with that is the resolution in your packet. This is the resolution that basically allows us to do engineering work that's less than, I'll try to, yes. Tries to do engineering work for less than $50,000. It allows us to do engineering work for less than $50,000.
Would like to say I commend the Economic Development Board for their initiative in moving forward with the site developments. Originally, the commissioners' former board approved funding to be able to do the site the site identifications. So we contracted with the company to identify at least 8 sites, the potential locations for the county to work with investors to develop economic opportunities for business growth. The first one being this one on Long Branch, which is property owned by the county. So Brad, appreciate the work on getting the grant thing. I know you've worked diligently on that, and appreciate the Economic Development Board working in tangent with you to identify this and the second one, which we'll be seeing coming forth pretty soon as well.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Good work.
Do we need to read that resolution into the record, Madam Clerk?
That it's required.
Okay.
That's your pleasure.
No, that's fine. If we don't have to do it, there's no reason to subject everybody to the whereases and therefore resolves and everything else. So, we do.
All right, Brad, once this is done, would you give just a couple liners as to what would be the next process?
The next step would be financing and going after financing for the actual site prep. And this program, as you see in your memo, there are 3 phases of this. One is the identification of the sites. And then, of course, we did that. And now we're doing the due diligence for the site. And hopefully we'll know first part of June, I think, is when they're going to make their announcement for this particular aspect. And then in the fall, we'll be able to apply for, I think it's about $1.5 million is what they make available to individual communities for site prep. So you'll be basically able to get our site graded and leveled and trees cleared and those type of things, so that then the next opportunity that we have for funding, we'd be able to develop to the next level of maybe a pad ready site. And
Very good, thank you.
And again, a lot of this is made possible. Brad worked very hard on this, but also want to commend not only Brad, but the Economic Development Board for the hours they've put in. They've put in a lot of time in getting this to this phase, or to this stage, I should say. And we thank them and Brad for their work in guiding us through the process. Do we need a formal approval on the support letter?
You might as well.
Okay. So we've all got a copy of the support letter in front of us, as submitted by the Economic Development Board. And if there are no suggested changes, corrections, or alterations, I would entertain a motion that we approve that support letter.
Also,
Is there a second?
Second.
So we got a motion by Commissioner Wyatt, second by Vice Chairman Garrison. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? All right, we'll get that signed and over to you.
All right, do we need to do the same for the resolution?
I believe we probably might as well, don't you think, Donnie?
We do need to.
All right, so the resolution is for the engineering services to exempt the industrial park development from general statute, North Carolina General Statute 143-64.31. And this is essentially just a formality to go ahead and move forward with the engineering aspects. As long as they are under $50,000. So you guys have a copy of that resolution in front of you. It was in your packet as well. Let's see, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Got a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? Resolution is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Appreciate it.
All right, up next, Terry Ledford, Finance Officer. The budget amendment.
Good evening, gentlemen. Before you find for your approval, item A, which is budget amendment number 9. This amendment records additional state funding to your health department within both the enhancement detection and the advancing equity AAs. Also, you'll see an additional $38,400 to your Parks and Recreation Department. This is for additional fees relating to the mowing contracts. Also, see the recording of the CARES funding support for the Transportation Department. These funds are handled on a reimbursement basis and will need to be supplanted and reported before we receive the reimbursement prior to June 30. The Register of Deeds has received a second grant from the Office of State Budget Management. She's using these funds to help refurbish some of the ledgers within her office. Notice the movement of overtime salary line to the salary line for the Sheriff's Office. Your library has accepted additional donations and funds from the Friends of the Library in the total amount of $5,421.10. And here too, the recording for the additional revenue generated by the quarter-cent sales tax in the amount of $47,041.67, which will be distributed to the Board of Education pending your approval.
And then at the bottom line, after all this is said and done, we'll be adding a little bit of money back to the contingency fund, correct?
That's correct.
To the tune of about $15,000.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Anybody have any questions about budget amendment number 9? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that we approve budget amendment number 9.
Make a move.
A motion by Commissioner Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wyatt with a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor?
Thank you, gentlemen. Item B, you'll find February's financial reports. At the top of the page, you'll see that we are 66.64% into FY23. On the second page of that report, you'll see that for our general fund, we have received 74.35% of our revenues, and our expenses are at only 53.63%.
Anybody have any additional questions for Carrie? Thank you.
Good, thank you very much.
Excuse me, could please, the board, could the microphone be adjusted at the podium? Some of us senior citizens have a little hard time hearing.
The microphone is not for the room, unfortunately. The microphone is for the online feed. We don't have a sound system for the room as of yet, but we are working on that.
That has come up, so we're looking at addressing that and some other factors to make it a little bit more friendly here for folks that actually show up. And as a side note, it's always good to have a big crowd, so thank you. Thank you all that take place. Some of you are here just to support your leadership. Some of you are here for various reasons, but we appreciate your presence.
I will second that. All right, moving on. Diana Norton, Tax Administrator, with our 2023 Board of Equalization and Review schedule potential.
Yes. Commissioner Garrison is the only one that has sent me his available dates, but you have all the available dates in front of you. And I have to have at least 3 of you.
And I would, well, I guess the numbers will bear that out. At least, there needs to be at least one of us that has been through the process before to be there. So I think even considering Bill is new but has been here before and done that before, I think it's all good.
I like that board.
Yep. All
You
right.
like it?
Bill does like that. So Bill is available for every date you mentioned. I will volunteer, Bill.
Well, that's actually I see mine because there are lots of some folks here that have full-time jobs and they're bleeding their vacation time pretty heavy already. So
Yeah, what's I think it would be good though for everybody to at least take one.
I'll take care of it. Nobody can.
What's that? You'll take care of it?
Nobody can.
That's all good. What just for the record, Diana, what are Garrison's dates? That way maybe we can settle this right now.
April 5th and 19th. You want me to keep going or just stay in April?
Let's stay in April for right now. We're gonna do those in the morning like we normally do, usually all morning, finish up early afternoon. So it's not an all-day commitment for those,
Not at this
those of us
point.
that still work.
In May it may be, but not right now.
I got you. Yeah, next year we will
that'll
be,
be your after next.
right? All right, so I'm available on the 5th and the 19th as well, Diana. So we just need one more.
Correct.
Well, actually,
And we
that's
just
all.
need one of those days for April
Yeah.
right now.
All right, well, and we've got 3 of us, but all 3 of us have been there, done that before. So either you guys want to jump in on that? Either one of those days?
It's got the 21st here, I can do the 21st.
I can probably do the 21st as well. So I think we'll
Right
have
now,
at
I
least
just
3 of
need
us
one
on
day
either
in
one of those
April,
days.
so y'all pick which day. I'm good either one.
Oh, you just need one day?
For April. May, we need to do 2.
Well, if I'm gonna take off work, I'd rather take off on Friday, so I can do the 21st too.
That's fair. All right, you'll have at least 3, maybe 4 of us there. There can be more than 3. There has to be 3 at least. So we'll do that. Garrison gets the month of April off, which means you get to take both dates in May. So what dates did we have in May that we wanted to pinpoint?
We have the 10th, 11th, 12th, 17th, 18th, 24th, 25th, or 26th. And Michael is available every day except the 26th.
Okay. So looking at month of May. The 12th, just for the record, is on a Friday. The 18th is a Thursday. 24th, 25th, and 26th is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I'll take, Memorial Day 29th. You mean 4 days? 3 days, 4 days.
It is. I like you thinking there.
I'll do 26th.
All right, we'll do the 26th as one day. Is that good for you, Garrison?
It is not.
No, it's not. That's the one day you can't do, right? Look at that.
He's done going on vacation, he'll be gone.
All right, so any other day's good for Garrison, is that right?
Yes.
Let's go with the 12th. How's that?
It's on my list.
That'll get Garrison in there on it as well. How about you, Alan?
Yeah.
You good for the 12th?
Yep.
Okay, I think we've got you covered.
And who's my third on that day?
On the 12th,
Yes.
Bill. Bill's gonna be your third on every day.
And on the 26th,
On the 26th,
I have Jeremy down.
you do Jeremy, Bill, and myself.
That'll be.
And then if anybody else is free to join us, Alan, if you want to, you can.
Okay.
But I know you got to work as well, so. Yeah, so we've got the 12th and the 26th. All right. Is that good?
That's good. Thank you.
Is that all you needed?
It is.
Thank you,
All
Don.
right, well, I was going to recognize your tax office work now, but Garrison beat me to the punch. But I appreciate you very much with the success that you've had with that program. And the suggestion to use Kanya was a very good suggestion. We appreciate it. Great job. Thank you, Diana. And to your staff as well. All right, up next, County Attorney Donnie Laws regarding the National Opioid Settlement litigation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Each of you had in your package a proposed resolution, which would allow for authorize the execution of the additional settlements. I spoke briefly about this last month, but you recall the first round of lawsuits were settled last year, and we've received 2 deposits into our fund based on that settlement. There was a second lawsuit, a national lawsuit, that was against Walmart, Teva Pharmaceuticals, Allergan, and CVS and Walgreens. There's a proposed settlement against those defendants that's very similar to the first settlement. And the process we go through in doing that is that all of the counties and municipalities that participated in that lawsuit, a certain number of them have to agree to participate in the settlement in order for it to go through. And they have sent out to all of those parties the proposed settlement, and they're asking that the response can't come back by April the 18th in order to determine whether the 85% needed will be there in order to move forward with the settlement. The settlement is going to mean, we don't know exactly, but probably an additional $2 million to Madison County to be paid out over a shorter period of time than the last one. The last one was 18 years. This one will come in over a shorter period. North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, every entity in North Carolina has recommended our participation in this settlement. I think it's a good opportunity for us to get additional monies in. This resolution will authorize me to go online. I've already set that up through the first settlement. I can go online and execute all of these settlement agreements on behalf of Madison County and get that sent in tomorrow so that we can be counted toward that 85% if you all elect to pass this resolution tonight.
Chairman Weckel, I make a motion and move that we authorize our county attorney to execute all the documents necessary to enter into opioid settlement agreement with these aforementioned.
Got a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we've got discussion regarding employee retention in Department of Social Services in the county. It has been an issue that has been brought to our attention multiple times over the recent months, and we've asked Donnie to kind of brief us a little bit on what options this board may have to try to encourage a better environment over there as far as employee retention goes. So I will turn the floor back over to Attorney Laws.
You know, there's a symbiotic relationship between the Board of County Commissioners, your county health department, and the DSS department. Each of those departments have their own board and have their own director. Presently, the county commissioners really have very little or no control over the internal operations of those two boards, except for funding. I mean, the money comes from you all to them. Those folks are our employees. We pay them, yet we do not have any control over hiring, firing, discipline, and all of those things. A lot of folks don't understand that. So, you know, anytime those departments lose employees or something happens there, they're involved in a lawsuit, it affects the county commissioners and the county's budget. And, you know, that's what you're responsible for. So, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, you pay for it, you're responsible for it, but technically you have very little control over it. Presently, there is a method in North Carolina that's been available for probably the last 12 years to do a consolidated health and human services board where the county commissioners move in and they do basically take over those boards, and all three of those departments are then run as one total unit. That's not the case in Madison County. It could be, and that is an option that is available to you. But I think at this point, what this board is doing is they're hearing complaints. There's and they want to do something about it. We do have representatives on those two boards. Man, I know you were a representative on the Board of Health for quite some time from this. I don't know who our other board member was on the Board of Health.
Oh, out of this board, currently I was the only one, but Jeremy is
Jeremy
just gone on now. He will start at the next meeting.
And then on the DSS board, we have two appointees. I think that's former County Commissioner Craig Goforth and Darlene Reinhardt. So we can sort of have some input by talking to those board members and trying to get some kind of response and relationship and try to work out issues that are important to this board. I think that you are free to discuss, you know, how you may want to proceed or how you want to seek answers to those issues. I did provide to each of you just a little summary of frequently asked questions as to how DSS boards operate and organize in how the directors or how your board members, how their board members are appointed, and particularly how you appoint your two board members. But obviously, retention, county employee retention, in a lot of their agencies, we get rated by Buncombe County quite often. We train them and they take them from us. And, whatever, we can do and how you can work with your DSS board and a relationship between your county manager and the health director at the health department and the director of social services, just going to make for, a better relationship and a better environment for all your county employees to work in. I will answer any questions that you may have as to processes that you can go through. If you want me to look into the Consolidated Health and Human Services Board, I'll be more than happy to provide that process too. Anybody have any particular questions?
So I know we've got 2 seats on that board that we appoint. One of them being the former Commissioner Goforth. Is that a commissioner's seat, or can he finish his seat on that?
That is one of the questions that's particularly answered in that documentation that I gave to you. What happens, you have 2 seats that you can fill those positions. You can fill those positions with one of yourselves, or you can appoint someone. So I think the 2 people that you have on there right now is, one was Mr. Goforth, who was a sitting commissioner, and the other one is Miss Reinhardt, who is not a commissioner. Once you appoint those folks, they are there for the particular term that they were appointed. Just because a commissioner goes off of the board, that does not mean that he can no longer serve. So they're on for the duration of their terms. Now, if for some reason one of them resigns or one of them can no longer serve, then you would name a replacement, and that person would just serve for the duration of whatever term is left of that particular seat.
Do we know when when those 2 individuals' terms expire? Do we have that documented anywhere?
We do, but I'm sorry, I don't have that. Ms. Garrett, you should know. I'm not sure if you know, the dates right off the top of your head. Dorland was just appointed, this year, correct? I think next year, or possibly in June, I'm not 100% sure.
Thank you, Con.
The thing that I don't like about the structure of this board is that, it's not that the commissioners don't have control much over it. That don't bother me. What bothers me is the people of Madison County don't have no control. Meaning that if they've got a problem with Medicaid, Medicare, foster care, or whatever, they have nobody to go to. They have no representative to go to. So, if we was over it, they could come to us, and if they didn't like our answer, they vote us out. It's not the case the way that it's set up now.
There's no vote for that board. My understanding, the way that board is constituted is that the commissioners have 2 appointees. I believe there's 2 appointees to the governor's office. And then those 4 board members then come together and elect the 5th member. And once they're appointed, you're exactly right. There is no oversight. It's just the appointment of a board. And the same thing applies to your health department. There's quite a few, I think there's 10 or 12 members to the Board of Health. And they have to be certain occupations within the county, but again, they're not subject to election.
If we consolidated the two boards, what are the advantages and disadvantages?
Well, you have to go through the process in order to go to do the consolidation. You know, I guess whether or not it's a pro or a con, it would give this board much more control, but then it's going to give you a whole lot more work to do. So, you know, it would, you know, expand your role over 2 additional departments.
Can you tell us their main objective, the board, the DSS board, the one thing that they can do?
Well, the major thing that the DSS board does is appoint the director. And I think in those materials I gave you, there's one of the questions is, what are the roles and duties of the DSS board? And it will set forth those. I think number 1 is to hire and appoint a director for the Department of Social Services. They also set policies at DSS, but their major role is hiring the director.
Now, this document makes reference to having a county commissioner serve as ex officio member on the county service, on the DSS board.
That just that's what, if you appoint one of your own members, then that's.
So that doesn't change anything on the,
No, sir.
on the makeup of that board then?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, just a point of clarity and just a point of note, the Health Department Board has 13 members that are all appointed by the county commissioners. Unlike the DSS Board, which we only appoint 2.
That's correct.
Also, the basis, I think, for this conversation today is dealing with DSS and not the Health Department. So just a point of clarity for those that are.
The only reason I brought in the Board of Health is that if
you combine them.
Exactly.
And that's the only way that the commissioners can take control over the social services is combine the 2 rather than just the 1.
That's exactly right.
Well, that obviously is a discussion that can continue from this board and with you as our county attorney, maybe looking at other counties that have done that and see how that structure works, see how it's implemented, how the implementation of it was successful or not, the pros and cons that weigh out to it, other than just the general, it's more work. Me personally, we have avenues in place now, things that we can utilize immediately. If retention's an issue especially, we want to get ahead of that pretty quickly. So it'd be my recommendation to this board to task the county manager and the human resource director with coordinating an informational session with our representatives. We have Darlene and Dr. Goforth that serve on that board as our representatives, but to coordinate with those 2 that are our appointed liaisons to that board for the purpose of doing an official, conveying officially the county's concerns, the things that we're hearing to that DSS board, and then to request our representatives to work with the DSS board, which they do already, to address those matters and to report back to this board the matters of concern. And those concerns have been leadership deficiency, employee retention, and workplace harassment. That's the things that we're contending with. And then report back to the county manager and the human resource director of the DSS board's response and the resolution that's been implemented to address those concerns. That'd be my recommendation. And in the course of that, if if the board wants to continue to entertain consolidation, they can, but at least we can go ahead and be getting in front of this. So opening a line of communication to convey concerns from one board to another board with our representatives from our board to their board, and then request a response back as to how those things have been remediated. That's my recommendation. The board here obviously can do as you so choose, and I support whatever you do. To me, there's a sense of huge urgency here. I was looking, and our new HR director did a great job of putting out the available job vacancies for the county. We're going to start really promoting our county a lot more, and promoting the departments, and promoting job vacancies, and trying to do a lot better job of recruiting folks and keeping them. And so I'm pretty excited about that. But I noticed there were several on there that are DSS related. The answers are what they are, and that's hopefully the purpose of working with our HR director and with our county manager to address those areas of deficiency and to move forward with fixing whatever the problems are. At the end of the day, fix them, because we have kids and families that are at stake, and we have employees that we're losing that are valuable employees. So that's my recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is there, does that need to come in the form of a motion, or can that just be a directive to our county manager?
I think you all can direct him as a group if that's what you all want to see fit to do, and I think he's acknowledged.
So Vice Chairman Garrison has what I feel is a viable first step. And does anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions for additional directive in regards to this matter? Or did Vice Chair Garrison's directive cover everything that's in your mind?
The jobs that's posted, are they any that's froze, or is all the ones that's posted all the vacant ones, or do you know that?
They are all active postings that are on the site right now, yes. Is that what you're asking?
Well, do they have any jobs that's been froze?
There's one right now that has not been posted, and that is the planner, zoning planner. That is the only one that's not posted right now.
I think he's talking about DSS specifically.
Yeah, DSS.
I'm not certain, I'd have to check.
Maybe that's a conversation that, I think that's a valid question. Do we have positions that have not been filled over a long duration of time? Are the positions that are froze? That's a conversation that we can convey with Ms. Reinhardt and Dr. Goforth.
Any other suggestions or additions to the directive?
Mr. Chair, I do want to say that, historically, this board, the previous board, has been faithful in supporting not only the Department of Social Services, but a lot of the different departments with fulfilling the requests they have at budgetary time. Now, obviously, this year's a new year, and we've got a lot of things to continue to deal with, but historically, we've tried to strive to meet the needs of our county departments, and hopefully this is just another step in trying to mediate what is a little bit of an awkward situation for us, because we don't have the authority to manage our own employees, but we do have people in place and there's process in place. So,
And if memory serves correct, and I could be wrong on this, but just going strictly off memory, I believe that department got the least for the last 2 years had gotten every budget item that they requested, if I remember correctly.
One thing, you talk about the board does one thing, is that right? They've got one thing. So who hires, I know the answer, but I want it told. Who hires the employees of the DSS?
The director.
Okay. So the board, as far as what we know about the employees, or if they got vacancies and all that, it all comes down to one person, is that right?
The director is responsible for hiring and discipline and everything that goes on with DSS employees. Now, most of the DSS employees are subject to the State Personnel Act, which there is a process that governs that, but that is, yeah, that all of that falls on the shoulders of the DSS director.
But the board,
The board is not involved in that. That's-
Good question, Bill. Anybody else?
Let me clarify, so you're saying, Matt, for your memory, that every budget request item, salaries, pay raises, all that, you are, in the previous administrations, you all got to meet.
Best I can recall, the last 2 years, the budget that was presented by DSS was approved by the Board of Commissioners
Okay.
as it was requested. Now, again, I'm going strictly off memory. I didn't have the opportunity to go back
Correct.
and actually pull those budgets, but the best I can recall, and I'm positive last year's was, and I believe wholeheartedly that the year prior was as well. And so, all right, last chance. Any additional questions on this topic before we move on? All right. Colonel, you've got the directive, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right. Up next on our agenda is, and we're going, there's a slight typo here. As interim county manager, it is county manager Rod Honeycutt. So, Colonel, please, the floor is yours, sir.
Sure, thank you, and I want to thank the board again for giving me the opportunity to serve as county manager. And I also like to say that the remarks from the night were a little bit misleading. Every one of the county commissioners met with the families. There was sheriff's department, there was EMS, and it was a great county effort across the board. And I want to make sure that the due diligence and the correct appreciation goes to everyone involved. Acknowledge the two tasks from the night. First task is to publish the moratorium on the website. Put IT in the lead, and we'll get that published as soon as it's ready to go on the website. Make sure you have access. And the second task is to open up a line of communication with the DSS board and report back to the board our findings. First topic tonight that I have for you is the inmate labor negotiations, and I'm asking the board to give me the authority to enter into a contract with the sheriff to use inmate labor for places such as the demolition we're doing down at the drug court. I had advice from the attorney, and I can do that with just a simple memorandum of agreement between me and the sheriff. So get your blessings to move out to use that inmate labor.
Mr. Chair, I so move.
second.
Got a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, a second by Commissioner Briggs. And just, so is there any discussion? And I've got a question. I'll lead the discussion on this real quick. This directive that we're giving on this, that would not just be specific to that one task. This opens this up to use inmate labor to supplement our maintenance department or other departments within the county that would be non-sensitive to the fact that it's an inmate there. Obviously, you can't have them working around children or certain different environments that may be in place. But this would give the county manager discretion to do that in any instance that applies. Correct?
What we hope to do there, for many years, we had the agreement with the Department of Adult Corrections in North Carolina to use the inmate labor from the prison system. And then that dried up during COVID. I think we really took advantage of that opportunity. And then when we lost it, it left a deficit here in the county. What we are trying to do here is use inmate labor from the sheriff's department and try to incorporate the same kind of terms and protections and ideals into that agreement that we used with the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections. And we can do that with a MOU with the sheriff's office, and actually our intern Matthew is assisting us with that. So I think between the three of us, we can come up with a good draft if you'll delegate that ability to Mr. Honeycutt to execute the MOU.
And just for the record, for anyone who might be or might have any concerns about this, this is not something that would apply to the juvenile detainees in the jail. This is only for those of legal age. And
These are for those what we always call trustees.
correct. So these are inmates of legal age with a reasonable amount of security and trust based on their involvement and relationship with the sheriff's department.
What's the cost to that?
There's no cost associated with, other than one of the requirements from the sheriff's department is to provide lunch to the inmates. So we've got to work through funding to provide lunch.
Hamburger.
You watch Cool Hand Blues, you knew the answer. Colonel, just a point of clarity, this isn't the SMCP, State Misdemeanor Confinement Program. We're talking about pre-sentenced inmates that are here just being housed, waiting to go to trial. Is that correct?
There's only going to be a certain number of those folks that we can access.
Right.
Yeah.
And one other question, I assume we've been coordinating this communication and conversation with the Sheriff's Office Detention Facility.
Yes, sir. Sheriff's office actually reached out to me and the jail administrator also. So communication with both. Just got to get ink to paper and put signatures on it.
And is it fair to say that under these particular guidelines that these inmates could only be used for government services, government facilities, unlike the SMCPs?
That's all I'm using them for. So
I'm just saying, we want to make sure that in the contractual drafting that's understood. Because we have the ability of both, I just want to make sure we don't get inmates to do one job thinking they're from the other pool.
So that's clear. Very good. Any other questions, comments?
Oh, it's clear, I just want to make sure it's clear later.
We want to make sure it's clear now and later.
Yeah.
So, all right.
There's rules against, there's some laws against
That means they can't,
contracting out labor.
they can't come paint the house for Bill or anything like that, right?
But I will say, there are other avenues to do some of those things, so go ahead.
All right, very good. Any other questions or concerns in regards to this matter? All right, is there a motion that we approve Rod Honeycutt pursuing this? Oh, we done, I'm sorry, we did, we're in the discussion phase, I'm sorry. So we've
Right now,
got,
we're discussing,
hearing no further discussion,
we're discussing
Hearing no further-
inmates, that's perfect.
hearing no further discussion, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
moving on to items 9B is the recreation of what used to be the county's 911 board, E911 board. In front of you, you have a memorandum discussing that. What we recommend to call the Madison County Public Safety Board. It has 9 voting members and additional attendees. There is a task for the county commissioners in there. You will have to appoint 3 members that come from municipalities for a period of 2 years to serve on the board. Its task is to collaborate amongst all public safety officers for the sheriff department, police department, EMS, fire, to review current procedures, levy subject matter experts in the field to develop and improve our current systems. One of the requirements is a quarterly review that will be published and an annual report to the commissioners on the board's findings. I'm recommending that this board stand up in the month of April, as the month of April is Public Safety Awareness Month, and we begin our meetings the following month in May. Gentlemen, subject to your questions.
the, and I'm bringing this up for a reason.
Well, I would hope so.
Number 3, voting members, that guy,
You know him.
everybody knows, I mean, are y'all good with that?
I would prefer it be,
Or designee?
their designee, the Fire Association's
Designee.
designee. That's my preference.
Run that by me.
So Bill, I am the firefighter association
Right, I
president,
understand.
so
But I mean, I'm just,
I would like that to say the Madison County Firefighters Association designee.
So that board, that's a, I guess is classified as a board, the people that are members of that.
Well, there's a president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary, but the fire
The
department,
association
or the
is,
association is the members.
so in essence, what we'd be allowing Bills them the freedom to choose their representative
Yes.
at large.
I would recommend maybe propose language that it be the Madison County Firefighters Association president or their designee.
Either way, yeah.
Because at some point, you know, obviously you will no longer be the president of that association, and it removes any potential conflict there. So, the next president may or may not be a county commissioner, most likely would not in that particular case. So, that would be my suggested proposed language change there.
And possibly the same, we want the EMS director there, but sometimes maybe he can't. Can we say our designee there, or how do you feel about that?
He's actually the chair of the board. In his position
The
as
EMS
EMS director.
Okay.
And that's our recommendation, and the board can grab the override if they shift, but in the language right now, in the bylaws, he is the chair.
And that was the pre-existing bylaws, correct? Or no, these are new bylaws,
He's removed.
brand new. Nice.
For one thing, I think it's imperative that I see is a little bit of a deficiency here. The intentions of this, we have great emergency services here in this county. A lot of people do stuff for free or they work really cheap. At the same time, our telecommunicators, they're kind of the line that holds all this together. And the idea with developing this advisory board is so that information flows both ways. The problem I see here is that as voting members, the information's only flowing one way, and that's into 911. So I'm asking that number one is we quantify what telecommunicators means, and that we move that person or persons over to voting members, because they're going to be giving information out as well as receiving it in. That's my suggestion.
Tonight is to get your guidance, and I'll bring it back in April, for the vote.
Well, we may be able to iron this out here in just a minute, move on. The second thing I would say is that maybe we loosen up the verbiage under section 1, article 3. It says the board will convene quarterly. Could we not say at least quarterly? That way, the initial implementation of this process of communication, it may be that they meet every month for the next 3 months. And then once they kind of get some of the bigger things ironed out and settled down, then they can move forward with the quarterlies.
Sorry, I didn't mean, am I interfering?
No, you're good.
When you say the chairman of this board, are you sure it wasn't the emergency services director?
It was Teresa.
So, yeah, that's different. EMS director is their ambulatory service.
Yes.
Yeah,
The idea to be Teresa's position, that she held previously.
right.
Yeah, so that's the typo there.
So I'm saying the EMS director, if he's not available, if he's in meetings or something, EMS director or designee.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, sir.
Good point. All right, and then the Emergency Services Director would be a person who is the chair of the committee. Okay.
Try to leverage existing employees as duties required versus having appointees to take much of the political atmospherics out of it.
Donnie, as legal, I do have a question regarding the fact that this is if we call this a public safety board and we commission it, then they're mandated to have
Yes, sir.
notice
They're
and,
mandated to follow all of the open meeting rules.
so what other avenues should we wisely consider?
You can't.
Okay,
Any committee or board that you create or delegate has to follow the same rules that daddy creates, so that you have to follow. So.
that being
And
said,
they
then,
can do that. I think, if, as long as they will appoint
I think we need to add that, because that's kind of where I'm getting. It looks like we identify a chair and vice chair, but it would probably be wise to go ahead and identify.
Section 5 has a secretary.
voting members will appoint a secretary to capture
Oh, my bad.
and publish minutes.
Very good, Colonel. Thank you.
And
Thank you,
keep
Don.
coaching.
And they can take classes under Miss Mann.
We're definitely not tasking her with it.
She's got enough to do.
And simply at their first meeting, if they just decide when they're going to meet and adopt a resolution as to when their regular meetings are, then they don't have to publish
Right.
anything else. They will only have to publish their special meetings.
Mr. Chair, I would entertain that we move forward with approving this.
Make that in form of a motion, sir.
I do so. I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, second by Commissioner Wyatt. Is there any discussion, any additional discussion in regards to this topic?
Just with the aforementioned modifications that been directed to the board. Thank you, Colonel, for putting this together.
Transition into 9D.
Hold on, we're not done yet. Is there any additional discussion? Any addition? No, you didn't say that. All right, hearing none, now we'll move to a vote. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, Colonel.
Now transition to 9D, county on surplus property. Gentlemen, there's two bids. Currently, the first one is a $500 bid on a $17,330 piece of property. The second bid is $75,000 on the county facility at the island, which has a $592,000.
All right, let's take one at a time.
Mr. Chair, in regard to bid number one, that property was sold in 2006 for $250,000. It's valued at $17,300 on the county tax records. I make a motion that we reject that bid.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion?
That's a lot in the Bear River Lodge.
That's $500 is what they offered for it.
It's 2.3 acres if anybody's interested.
$500, that's,
Borders Highway 208. Move on.
Any additional discussion or sales pitches? All right. Hearing none, move forward to a vote. All in favor of declining this offer, signify by affirmative vote. That's unanimous. Offer is refused.
Mr. Chair, in regard to bid number two, which is the old gym on the island, that bid of $75,000, I move that we move forward with that bid.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Vice Chairman Garrison to accept the initial bid on the island. That will begin the upset bid process. If, just for everybody's knowledge that's in the room and watching at home online, once that process plays out, if this board is not satisfied with the final offer, we still reserve the right to reject and put it back up on the market. So we have a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison that we approve or accept that initial bid of $75,000. Do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Briggs. Move to the discussion phase. Is there any additional discussion or any discussion at this time?
Was that the only bid we had on there?
That's that's the initial bid. Yeah, that's the first bid that this is the first bid that we've received. So technically, yes, it is the only bid at this time.
It's just a startup bid. You know, like he says, you got 10 days to upset that, and it keeps going on. If it's upset in 10 days, you got 10 more days. And then, like he indicated, if it's not, if we don't agree that we want to sell it for whatever the initial 10-day ending price is, then we reject it. That's the reason I'm for getting it started.
And just for the record, the proceeds from the sale of that building, we've talked about this before, was agreed to by a previous board. But the proceeds, the net proceeds of this sale will go into an account earmarked for the town of Marshall to use those funds towards a facility for the youth of Madison County, specifically in the Marshall area. And the reason being is because that old school building was built by a special tax that was levied against the residents, that the residents of Marshall agreed to pay in order to build that school building. So we thought that it was only fitting to give that back to the community in that fashion, so that to try and encourage some alternative recreation facilities for the youth of this county. So all that being said, is there any additional discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to bring up the fact that it was built 1955, so it's not a new building. When you think about upkeep and all that sort of thing, that's what it says right there.
Yeah, I'm saying it much, we're trying to sell
We're
it.
trying to sell it. That's called due diligence on the buyer.
Well, that's not that long ago, is it?
Yesterday, that's the reason I brought it up.
I love it. That's good. Bill was knee high to a grasshopper when that building was built. Huh?
Donnie and Bill's working in collusion.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Any additional discussion?
That's
We
quick.
done in 85.
All right. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Well, was there a second? There was a second, Commissioner Briggs. So we are going to the voting phase now. All in favor? Once again, unanimous. Thank you.
All right, then we'll transition to 9E, board vacancy. There's one board vacancy, Mountain Area Workforce Development Board, one application.
Just to check with Madam Clerk, was that the only application we received? Because I understand that there was one forthcoming from the previous, from ASI.
You designed.
No, I understand he resigned, but my understanding was one of their employees was willing to serve.
Have not seen.
Okay.
What you have before you is a recommendation from Landis staff. You
Very
don't
good.
have to accept that recommendation.
No, that's okay.
If you do not choose to do that.
So the individual that we have the application from, or application for was, I'm sorry, we don't have the application. This was a recommendation by Land of Sky, who is in charge of the Mountain Area Workforce Development Board. And their recommendation is individual that works for PrintPack in Marshall, and it's Jerry, if I'm pronouncing it correct, Deloche. Jerry Deloche. is the recommendation from the Mountain Area Workforce Development Board. And again, that's an individual who works for PrintPack here in Marshall. So I would entertain a motion that we approve Jerry DeLoach if anyone feels so compelled.
So move.
Motion by Vice Chairman Garrison. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion at this time?
It's really good that we have historically had folks from Advanced Super Abrasives, and now we have folks from PrintPack who are engaging in a part of this this group. So I'm really happy about that.
Your name tag about to fall off the table. All right, any additional discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. We've got, let's see, Mr. County Manager, is that a vacancy on the Animal Control Board for a commissioner's spot or a commissioner appointee?
Madam Clerk, thank you for a commissioner's spot, correct me if I'm wrong. Animal control position?
Yes. It's the commissioner's position. Yes.
Okay, so that needs to be a county commissioner that can serve on the Animal Control Board.
Cats and dogs.
I move that we appoint Alan Wyatt. So there's a motion on the floor to appoint Alan Wyatt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Briggs. Motion was by Commissioner
You know how
Hensley.
many animals I'll end up with tonight?
Hey, it's good, man. It's very good.
It's good to support them, especially right now. They're in a critical time with their infrastructure.
Yep.
And so it's a really good opportunity for the board to be engaged. Dr. Goforth was very faithful in his service to them, and Angela does a wonderful job, so it'd be good to have some interaction with them to bring back to us some of the concerns they have regarding their building especially.
Absolutely. What we're looking for, someone that can advocate on behalf of that department and
Thanks.
even adopt some pets maybe. So,
Maybe another horse.
any additional
No more
discussion?
horses.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Unanimous? Just to make sure, any opposed? All right. It was unanimous. All right, I believe that takes care of the current board appointments this time. Is that correct, Mr. County Manager?
Correct, got one upcoming for your situation awareness.
Yep.
As we transition to 9F, which is the settlement of Ivis Frisbee versus Madison County. In the document you have a payout to Ms. Frisbee for $3,000 and a payout to the lawyer's firm for $2,000. Need your approval to proceed.
So this is a former DSS employee that is sued the county for her I'm trying to word this legally and properly here, for her alleged wrongful termination.
Correct.
Okay. And we have reached a settlement agreement. There's an offer on the table. The total cost of the county in this case will be $5,000. And to be distributed as mentioned by our county manager. So, entertain a motion to approve settlement agreement.
Make a move to approve the settlement.
Motion by Commissioner Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion?
Just a point of note, any litigation would cost us more than $5,000, so potentially.
Yes.
It's a good move.
We're trading an unknown quantity for a known quantity, which anytime you can do that in court, usually you come out on the favorable side of things. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor of the settlement? Unanimous. Up next is our Division of Water Infrastructure Resolution and Funding Offer and Acceptance and the Engineering Services Agreement that goes along with that.
let me share, that's originally 2F. You have, I said, accept $12 million to complete a water infrastructure moving from Marshall with 3 existing tanks in the design phase. We have met with the municipalities, had a good collaborative session with municipalities and with architecture firms. And I'll defer to the chairman, want to expound more or less on that one.
Yeah, so what this is one component of our desired plan to connect the town of Mars Hill and the town of Marshall with water and sewer services. Initially, when we undertook this proposal, the numbers that we had at the time, which are now a couple of years old because it takes a little bit of time to get through the process in Raleigh. The numbers were a couple of years old, and thanks to the inflationary environment that we live in today, the amount that we requested, which was originally to do water and sewer, is only enough to complete the water component at this time. We are actively and currently pursuing the remainder of the funding to complete the sewer side of the project as well. But based on the amount of funds that we have available, the towns felt that it was the best appropriate use for the money to go ahead and do the water connection first, because there's a lot of additional legwork that needs to be done on the sewer side to make the complete connection in regards to that. And that sewer estimate at this point sits in the ballpark of an additional $15 million. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's the last figure we had. I hope so, because that's the figure we're asking for. So, all right. So moving forward, the engineering the funding offer and acceptance is the first step. Is there a motion that we approve that?
This is what the towns want, is that right? The
Correct.
both towns, and they're the ones that's gonna do this.
This is what the towns would agree
All
to.
the counties, done, has got the money, is that right?
So yes, the county.
You need to explain that. They may think that's, that we're, ramrodding this, I mean, all we're doing is giving this money that we received, right?
So the money comes to the county as from the North Carolina legislature. The county, the North Carolina legislature gave the money to the county for the use of this project, or to complete this project. So it'll actually pass through us. We will actually own that line until it's completed. Once it's completed, then the ownership gets signed over to the towns, and it becomes part of the town's system. And that Mars Hill and Marshall have agreed to the program in principle. There are still where the actual breaking point's going to be, where the actual interconnection is going to be, and who owns what distance of line in each direction is still under discussion with the two towns. But what we're doing is we're approving the process to move forward at this time, and the towns are working in good faith to complete their end of the agreement.
But it's all up to the towns, is that right?
Uh,
The two towns.
That is correct. If I understand your question correctly, yes, sir.
There will be signatories to the interlocal agreement that outlines everybody's responsibility.
Any additional questions? So I hear a motion, we approve.
I so move.
Motion by Commissioner Wyatt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Gentlemen, next is the follow on with that same discussion is enter into an engineering contract with McGill and Associates to design water line with the 3 tanks.
So when we put out the RFQ, just for additional discussion here, when we put our explanation, when we put out the RFQ, McGill and Associates was the only one that responded. And they're the only, and so, by default, I guess you would say, McGill and Associates, was awarded the well, we've been operating and working with the towns, with McGill. This next step will be to actually officially enter them into the contract. Is that correct, Donnie?
What we did when we issued the RFQ last year, they were the only bidder, and this is an extremely large project. There's not a lot of engineering firms that would have the capabilities of taking something like this on. McGill had worked extensively with Mars Hill in designing their sewer systems, their water systems. They were very familiar with what was already out there. They had a leg up on everybody else in the bidding process anyway. So I think with all of that out there, no one else even come to the table because they knew, it wouldn't work out. So we entered into an initial contract with McGill for them to do some preliminary designs and cost estimates. And it was working with them that actually ruled out the sewer component of it, because when they put their pen to paper, we realized that there wasn't enough money to do the sewer component of it at that time. So that's where the water portion of it came forward. And now what this contract is, it's actually an amendment to the prior contract that will allow them to do 3 things: design the entire system, and then bid out the system to a successful contractor, and then while it's under construction, to actually manage that contractor and all of those. So there's 3 components to it. So they're going to be spending a lot of time along the 213 corridor with Ross Young in the next couple of years. So, and this is that contract, and you'll see there's a lot of pages to it. This money comes down from the federal government, and they have every string attached to that. You have to comply with all kinds of procurement guidelines, and there's strings attached all over the place because it's federal money. So we've tried to tie this up with a nice little bow to start with. And that's what you see before you is the contract with a lot of provisions in it: anti-lobbying provisions, compliance with every kind of federal regulation there is there.
And in the meantime, they're also working on the sewer component so that we have a proposal to make sure that we are providing the best possible number and scenario to the North Carolina legislature to finish the project. So at this point, we need a motion to approve the engineering services agreement. Don't jump on it all at once.
I make a move that we approve the engineering service.
All right, motion by Commissioner Hensley. Is there a second? I'll second it.
You didn't give me a chance.
I need to get on scoreboard, I guess. I'll second it. So we've got a motion by Commissioner Hensley, second by Chairman Wechtel. Is there any additional discussion at this time? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? Unanimous? Motion passes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I need a point of clarity back with the consent agenda on 2I. We are not asking for a decision from the board, even though it's consent agenda, it's for situational awareness only. We have tentative approval from Representative Pleth that suspense will be moved into the December 31st time frame for us to spend the money. And we're still in negotiation with VIA about the scope of work for that contract. So I want to make sure you understand the intent of why that was in the packet tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that clarification.
And I had a due out to you that we can table or talk to tonight. I failed to get it into the agenda. That was for the grant coordinator. That position in front of you. And with that in mind, I'd like to officially welcome Ms. Suzanne Briggs, our HR director, part of the personnel part. She helped tremendously put this one together and the funding streams associated with it. What I'm asking for is either to table it tonight or enter into an approval to post the position, seek the coordinator.
Donnie, can we amend the agenda at this point to discuss that issue, to discuss that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, at this point, the board, the chair would entertain a motion, to discuss the proposal that the county manager has put before us this evening. Put it in one of my stacks. I'm still looking for it. Yeah. There it is.
Mr. Chair, move that we authorize the county manager and HR director to move forward with posting the grant coordinator position as it's been.
We have to amend the agenda first, sir.
I make a motion, we amend the agenda.
All
Do the grant.
There's a motion that we amend tonight's agenda to discuss the grant coordinator, or the creation of a grant coordinator position. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. The motion was by Vice Chairman Garrison. Any discussion at this time? What we're discussing is the alteration of the agenda. Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Agenda now is altered, and you can ask your question now, Mr. Garrison.
I make a motion that we authorize the county manager and the HR director to post the grant coordinator position vacancy announcement as it's been presented to us.
Is there a second? We have a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it, but I have a question.
That's fine. Second will get us to the discussion phase. So we've got a second by Commissioner Wyatt, and we're now in the discussion phase. Commissioner Wyatt, you can go first. What do you want?
Mr. Honeycutt, did you find in the budget room
Page 3.
You go to page 3 and look at 4 funded streams.
stuff together, sorry? Okay. Okay. Answer the question.
So there is money within the current, just to clarify, there is money within the current budget available to fund this position. Our county finance director is nodding at me in approval as well, so we'll take that.
If take a budget amendment, once we have the person to move the funds over into.
Any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor of advertising the position of grant coordinator, signify by a vote of affirmation. It's unanimous.
Just a point of note, I think, Carrie, and I apologize, if you were in that meeting or not. I remember asking that we should have had you there, but I can't remember if that was before or after, that the allocation of these funds be in order of the ones that have to be spent first.
Yes, sir, and we will apply it as such.
Good.
Subject question that completes the county manager report.
Thank you, Kermit.
All right. That completes all the items on our agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn? That was in the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yep. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wyatt, second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, we stand adjourned.